Not the Footy Show.
Forward sizzle.
You wanted to say something.
Do you know how much strength it took?
I know.
Not to tell you that the Warriors won? Like, honestly.
Talk me through that, mate. What a game. Oh, bro. Work us. That was off its head. Bro, we spoke about it half time. Like, do we actually believe we can come out here and do it? We spoke. We said some funny half time, bro. We were like, what a story it would be, you know? We tell our grandkids about this one day. Let's just go out, have a crack. And I thought man, we're so resilient, bro. I love being a part of it. It's just such a good feeling, and obviously so much to like, so much to not like. But at the end of the day, when you come here, you're a good side, bro. You're a good side, and just stoked, hey, what a feeling.
I'm super proud. Yeah, the boys' attitude, never giving up, is just something different. Yeah, it's crazy how good it is. We're just keep making it hard, but we must love it for some reason. I don't know why, but looking forward to an 80-minute performance. But the one thing I'll leave you today, like, it's one of the best wins I've ever been a part of for different reasons, and that is they just never gave up. Half time, we felt really good about it. We clawed our way back a little bit before half time, and yeah, as a staff in the box, we were really calm. We walked down, and I just felt like we left the sheds with a bit of belief. And then boys, the rest is history.
Seconds remaining. Thank you. It comes back to Burton from out wide. He strikes it. He likes it. And the Bulldogs have pulled off under-a-goal. What a win by the Dogs.
G'day everybody, welcome to episode 288 of Not the Footy Show. You've got Warrick, Nicolson, you've got Robb Cox, and you've got round 5 in the books for 2023. Coxsmith, anything happened last night in rugby league that was at all interesting?
Last night or yesterday afternoon?
Well, I think
it was a good day for rugby league. It was a good day for rugby league. The Warriors gave it, well, I wouldn't say gave it to, but beat the Cronulla Sharks on their home turf.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see the game, but I understand it was a pretty exciting end to the game with somebody missing a goal. Was it Nico Hines that missed that goal?
Yeah, Nico had a chance.
Yeah, and then we had a Golden Point game at ANZ/Accor/Olympic Stadium.
So you were there on Sunday night. I was there on Sunday night. My flatmate was there on Sunday night. I think we represented about 33% of the crowd.
Yes, yeah. I think they counted toes when they told us that there were 9,600 people there.
So the Bulldogs get up 15-14 in Golden Point. The Warriors beat the Sharks 32-30 in the Sunday game, saving a round that up until that point was screaming blowouts because the Broncos smashed the Tigers, the Dragons smashed the Redcliffe Dolphins, and my Raiders got absolutely obliterated by the Panthers. Who knew they would get good? Would come good. But let's talk about the two games yesterday. Have you seen any post-match interviews that were done with either the coach or Sean Johnson from the Warriors Sharks game yet? I caught up with them. I caught up with them in the last half an hour this morning. So we're recording on Monday morning. Sean Johnson, that was impressive. It was just raw, but it was also, it was recognising what they just achieved without going like, that's the greatest thing in my life. It was actually, it was like, this is fantastic. We sat there at halftime. I think it was 26-6 at one stage, and it was 12-0 after 5 minutes. But he said, who's to say we can't win this? But that's for that conversation to be happening in a Warriors dressing room in the last 10 years, big thumbs up. And then I watched Andrew Webster's press conference, and I know why he got the job. That was so impressive watching the first 5 minutes of that presser. He was sitting there with Wade Egan. But the bloke is clearly got the players buying into what he's selling them, and there's a calmness, a resolve, and the most important thing that I look at the way he was speaking about stuff with the players. It wasn't, do it for the team, do it for the fans, do it. It's no, if you do this, we can build on what we did in that first half. That was good. That's what he said. It wasn't, you got to score 4 times to get back in front and find something within you. It was, no, well, we're doing some things okay. Let's do more of that. And in the second half, things started turning. And the Sharkies, I'm not going to get off the Warriors too quickly, but the Sharkies, I saw some semi-final, what's the word, inadequacies re-emerge yesterday in the way that the Warriors came back over them. But let's start in the Warriors. What do you...
Here we go, folks. This is where Warrick gets to lay the boot into his least favourite team, the Sharks.
I got a few of those. No, Sharks aren't. It goes Manly, it goes Parramatta, and it goes St George. That's my 3 teams that I dislike the most, and those 3 will never be questioned. The Warriors. Let's start with them. That's my feedback on the way that the coach. What's your impression been of the job? Kevin, you haven't seen the presser, but the job that Webster's done, because the Warriors are 4-1 in the second spot in the ladder, mate, after 5 rounds.
Yeah, look. To be perfectly honest, I'm gonna flag it early. I've only watched one full Warriors game this year, and it was the game they lost. But
that's the one I haven't seen.
Look, and I've seen many like Fox Sports mini episodes, where they just show the highest of the highlights, really. Look, I think. Yeah, I think they definitely look tougher. Their defense, their resolve in defense. Even though 32-30 doesn't really say a whole lot of resolve, but they went with Cronulla, obviously, and they seem to go with teams this year, which is different to a few recent history with them, because they would tend to get their they tend to start kicking stones when they were 8 or 10 points behind, and then start to play silly football. You know what? Obviously, the players are buying into what Webster's selling them. He's got a couple of old heads there that are, like Sean Johnson. Sean Johnson's an old head now, and he's mature enough to be listening to the coach and doing the right thing. So I say it's great for rugby league that the Warriors are doing well. I hope they can keep it up, because there's a couple of key positions there that they'd struggle. Like Sean Johnson, if he was out, they'd probably be a little bit different team. But hats off to them. They're doing the business at the moment. Like you say, they're 4-1. And if they keep it up, look like they're destined to play finals football again, which is fantastic.
The next 2 weeks for the Warriors, to me, is everything. It's their season, okay? They're 4-1 after 5 rounds. Next week, they go to Newcastle to take on the Knights. They have to win that game. They have to win that game. If you're serious about playing finals at that stage, 4-1, going to Newcastle, you got to win that match. All right. Then in round 7, they're back home against the Cowboys, who we also saw yesterday, who haven't set well on fire whatsoever this year.
Not at all.
They win those 2 games. They go into round 8. I think they're playing Melbourne, but they go in at 6-1. Foxsmith.
Yeah.
Or 6-1. That's a foundation that you can cop a few injuries, you can cop some bad luck in a few games, and you're still well and truly amongst the top 8 race, by round 15, 16, 17.
Yeah. This
is the thing that I want to see from, and that's what I'm going to be watching closely in the next couple of weeks, this is where I go, if you really are the new Warriors, if I hope they are, then you win these next 2 matches. You just do. So over to you, Webster. Over to you, Johnson. Over to you, the rest of you Warriors players. Make this season start count is, I guess, my message to them, because you don't always get golden opportunities in seasons where all of a sudden you get a couple of results and before you know it, you've only lost 1 or 2 matches 2 months into the year. An example of that would be a team like we saw last night, which is the Cowboys, who should have won that game. We'll get to that game in a second, but they parlayed a good start last year into a top 4 finish. You've got to take
absolutely. Look, just on the Warriors, though, it's good news for them, because they're mostly made up of Kiwis, so they won't suffer through state of origin, which is good for them. Hopefully it'll give them a chance to rest a couple of players. But on the Cowboys, you're right. They really took advantage last year and surprised a few teams. and went to within one game of the grand final. I don't think they're going to do that this year. They just don't look like they don't look like they're as well rounded this year. They look like they're cutting corners a little bit in games. And yeah, I think.
Do we want to jump to them now, or do we want to just quickly touch on the Sharks and then jump to that game?
Well, if you want.
Let's quickly on the Sharks, and I alluded to it a couple minutes ago. But 32 points against Docksmith.
Yeah, you want to lay the boot in. Go on, I'll let you go. Got 60 seconds for a rant. Go.
They look spectacular in attack. Yeah. But they conceded 32 points. And the key part about it for me is they conceded 2 tries in 6 minutes after halftime to the 51st minute, and then they conceded another try to the game to get tied up with 10 minutes to go. And I guess I don't like going into an individual thing, but so I watched the game. I went to the game last night, the Bulldogs Cowboys, avoided the result. Didn't know what had happened with the Warriors and the Sharks. Sat down, watched the game. Ronaldo Mulitalo, mate, he's a personality player. All right, there's no doubt about that. Loves his football, loves enjoying stuff, and he'll lay the boot into the opposition when he gets the opportunity. Is it fair to say, and I know you haven't seen the game, but for those listening out there, his arrogance is probably a bit harsh, but it's probably appropriate. Did it cost the Sharks yesterday? Because I don't know if you've seen the moments that had happened to him after he got stuck into him after he scored his first try, but he invited disappointment into his life per Phil Gould by going after the Warriors. And when he scored his second try in the 55th minute, even though he'd had a whole bunch of bad moments and the Warriors players had gone after him, and it wasn't like what's the word, vindictive. It was just one of those. The banter had been happening, and we do good thing, we'll give you stick. You do something, you give us stick. But after his 55th minute try, he went after Sean Johnson. Went after him, called him this, that, and the other. Basically, I'll wrap it up and say you're beeping soft is the best way I can describe it. Who had the last laugh in that game, Cocksmith?
They used to be teammates, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think Coach Fitzgibbon might have something to say about that if it's true what you're saying, because he's a pretty straight up and down, plays with a very straight bat, old school kind of a bloke, and probably wouldn't like that. You're basically creating pressure on yourself when you pop off like that, especially halfway through a game. It's all right if you pop off when you're 20 in front with 2 minutes to go, but yeah, you are inviting. What was the Gould?
Gus's thing, inviting disappointment into your life. So Ronaldo, stick to the stuff you're really good at, mate, and enjoy your moments. But I reckon he lit a fire under the Warriors with what he did twice. It wasn't just the first time, and then he dropped a couple of bombs. And anyway, the Warriors come back and they get the victory. I will say this though: Teague Wilton is one of my new favourite players, because every time that Ronaldo mouthed off, he went over and tapped him on the shoulder and basically in the face and said, "Focus on yourself, sunshine." I
like Teague Wilton.
I love seeing that.
Good player.
So Sharkies lose, Warriors win. Sharkies now 2-3 on the season. We then go to Sunday night, and the 5,000 people that were there, I don't think I've seen ANZ, Accor, Rainbush, whatever you call it, as sparse as it was when the game kicked off. It was raining all afternoon, and by the time the game started, it was pouring down. But you were there on the sideline, mate, snapping away. I was up there in the one end of this ground with 100 people. What's the most impressive thing about that performance for you, for the Bulldogs?
They just stayed in the game. Again, this is a slightly new thing for the Bulldogs. We saw shining moments from them last year, but it was really hard for them to string a game together. Now they were playing, probably a little bit not as up to speed as the Cowboys were in 2022, but they were playing a pretty good Cowboys outfit. And they didn't give up. They thought that they could win the game the whole way through. And a clutch moment by Burton in Golden Point got them there. But they had to be within striking distance. That last 2 or 3 minutes from them in general play in the 80 minutes was pretty good. Like they They believed. They kept
They
going.
pinged the ball left and right. They moved the Cowboys around. They did exactly what the Cowboys didn't do in that game. I'll get to Lechat in a sec, but you're right. Burton, and we'll be critical for a second. It wasn't the missed kick on the Addo Carr try that was the concern. That's from the sideline. It was the one he missed from Preston with, was it 10 minutes to go? That he should have kicked. And he's got it in him, old Burton, missing those ones that he should kick. You know, Adam Dewey's another one that you think of that misses those kicks that you got to make. Because Preston scored in the 67th minute, and that was a kick that would have basically set them up where they were 2 points behind. He missed it, ended up 4. They pull off that great try. They spread the Cowboys so far across field for the last 5 minutes. It was reminiscent of what they did against Melbourne. I think they did that earlier in the match a few rounds ago. But Burton then, we go to extra time because he misses the kick, so be it. Then Burton comes up with the play that I'm sitting there and I'm just hoping he's doing it all night because, you know, you should be turning Kyle Feldt around every chance you get. But he kicks over the top for Addo Carr, who runs through, kicks it again, can't quite get the ball. But there's a play by Addo Carr that leads up to the field goal. Did you notice that he was the one that put pressure on that young fullback, Chester, who ended up kicking the ball away from Addo Carr because he didn't want to lose possession, but he kicked it straight to, could have been Curtis Moran or one of the Bulldogs players. And that's the play that I like better than him running through after the ball. It's that he got beaten. He didn't just give up. He actually, and this is something that Addo Carr, I think you want to see more of, especially at Origin, is those second efforts. And he turns around and he puts pressure on Chester, who gets the ball and kicks it to the Bulldog player. And then there's one chance for Burton and he nails it from 40 metres out. Not quite a 2-point goal, but
and he wasn't in the middle of the field either.
No, and Dogs.
No, it was impressive. It was impressive, and they celebrated hard, which was great in Golden Point. Look, the interesting thing for me in that whole game, you know, was when Josh Reynolds come on the field. Okay, he came on the field, I think, with about 15, 20 to go in the.
Could have been a little bit longer. I'll just check for you.
Okay, yeah. 20, 25 to go.
Kicker. Yep. I'll correct it in a sec. Yeah.
Okay. So 20, 25 minutes to go, I think it was, and look, he came on very, very energetic. Lots of yelling, lots of pointing, not a lot of doing, but the energy is still there in Josh Reynolds. He is definitely running on slightly older legs these days. I saw him play on TV over in New Zealand last week in a New South Wales Cup game. I didn't think he was that impressive, to be honest. It looked like, you know, but I think that the energy that he brought to the team kept them up a little bit. I was confused as to what position he was playing he's playing in the middle of the field.
He's playing lock.
Right, lock.
And he was
definitely not a running lock. Yeah.
He couldn't make a tackle. He couldn't make a tackle for the first 10 minutes. He came on the 49 minutes.
Taumalolo bowled him over. He got, look, typical of Josh Reynolds from back in his Bulldogs days before. You know, he's got grit and he's got tenacity and he's got energy, and he'll have a go at anything. I think he's a really good spare reserve to have for some games. I'm not sure when the couple of players that are injured, when they come back, I'm not sure he makes the team every week, but he certainly provided something for them yesterday, and I think it was even if he plays no other NRL games, what a great thing that he's come back to the team and played in the NRL again.
So he played link man. That was his job. He didn't. I think he ran it maybe once or twice into the line, but he was he was linking in the middle, playing that, for lack of a better way of describing it, that James Graham role that they used to play at the Dogs under Des Hasler. But
James Graham used to run it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But his job was to pass. And anyway, so what happened is that's where they played him in the middle. And this is where I'm going to be critical of the Cowboys. Yes, they did a good job at running at him when he was on there, but Lechat gets a lot of money. He gets a lot of money. He was
how much?
He was 700 odd apparently. That's good coin.
Yeah.
He was woeful last night. The Cowboys had Peter Hiku and Valentine Holmes catching colds on the edges last night.
They didn't go to their edges much.
The Cowboys refused to play to the edges and take advantage of the Bulldogs, who had Jake Averillo and Alamotti defending on the edge. And inside them, you got Kyle Flanagan and Matt Burton. It's not, they're not world-beating defenders on either side of the ruck. And I just go, you're in control of that game for a long time, but it's 8-6. Surely you want to try and put the Bulldogs out of their misery. No, let's just play safe football. Play safe football. And this is where I just go, your Todd Paytons and stuff. The way that they played last year was that they forced opportunities is the best way I can describe the Cowboys played. They would really play high tempo and go, if you give us a little window, we'll take it. And last night it was your classic, it's wet weather football. We've got to play, completions and get to our kicks. And his kicking game wasn't great last night, Chad. He had a couple that were all right, but generally he kicked it straight down the throat of Perham. And I don't know, I just go, the Bulldogs had no players pretty much in the middle of the field that whole game. You don't have to always run at them to make them tired. If you run them either side of the field and make them run across field, be back into defence, run across field, be back into defence, which is exactly what the Bulldogs did to them in the last 15 minutes with their big men. I don't know. This is a loss that I think's on Lachad and it's on Payton because their approach to the game, I thought, was very costly because the Bulldogs, yes, it's gutsy, yes, it's gritty, a bit of adventure at the end, but they shouldn't have won that match.
No, look, I think Payton, and his coaching staff need to have a little rethink on their approach to football this year because it's not good enough. Considering they looked like they were on the up and up last year, but it looks like they peaked last year, to be honest. So they're going to have a rethink, mate. But you know what? Good on the Bulldogs. They've won that game. They they'll grow in confidence from that. And really, you got to pin it on the players that were on the field. They had the grit and determination to finish their job off, and they did it.
Big shout outs to Jacob Preston. This gets better every week.
Yep.
A couple of defensive plays he made was awesome. He made a few.
Did you see
tackles.
His hand?
I didn't see it. You were right next to it. Did you get a good look? Did you get a good look? Get a photo?
Well, it was bleeding. So I don't know if it's a laceration or if he's popped a bone through the finger.
Done the old Munster.
Yeah, like he was holding on to it like he'd broken it or dislocated it. Like he was really grabbing onto it and not looking at it, and then he let the trainer have a look at it, and then the doctor came over. So he's either got a bad cut on it from probably a boot or something like that, or he's popped the bone through the hand. So
he was outstanding. Max King comes back from his head almost exploding from, I think he got a finger or a knuckle in the eye. He was just fantastic. But the other two players I've got to give credit to, Corey Waddell for the first 60 minutes was the best Bulldogs forward on the field. Because he had to do all the work. He's been playing 35 minutes as a bench rotation. He started. They lost Talamarina to a concussion. And Ryan Sutton, I thought, played quite well, being forced to overwork in the middle. And that's an impressive effort from the Bulldogs because their bench was extremely light. They had to put Ockenbaugh on the edge. They had Moran playing prop in the middle. And
Ockenbaugh went all right on the edge too, by the way.
I do. We were right.
Ockenbaugh was all right on the edge, mate.
Watching from vertically. And it was funny, though, he just refused to do any hard work from his own end because he'd stand out in the wing like he would normally in a game.
Oh, yeah.
It was funny watching that. It's hard to turn that off. His defence was pretty good.
His defence is good. For a bloke who's played wing for all of his first-grade career, it's a pretty big transition to get in there in the forwards.
Discuss the hip drop that happened in that game? Now, you were watching
Didn't see it.
So I'm sitting there.
Where was it?
Ockenbaugh did it on...
I really want to move on to the Raiders and Penrith.
Yeah, I know. I just want to quickly touch on this because this is a good example of where old Teflon...
Because this is getting boring.
Changes the rules on us. I'm getting exciting again. So we're sitting there, we're watching, and you see the replay of Ockenbaugh's, and it's Taumalolo's legs in an awkward position. It's not from Ockenbaugh jumping on his leg that creates the problem. And he gets sin bin. And we're sitting there, we're going, what? Like, we were just dumbfounded. It was unexplainable. We get home, watch the replay of the Sharks and Warriors game, and it makes complete sense. Apparently, all hip drops are 10 in the bin now because there were 2 in the Warriors-Sharks game that were both legitimate hip drops. Both got sin bin. That's the only reason Ockenbaugh got sin binned in the game next. So apparently, we can change rules that any on the fly for the NRL. So if the game before has a couple of hip drops and we get sin bin, we can do it in the next match because there's no way that the Ockenbaugh one was even remotely.
Hold on. Are you saying that possibly someone from the NRL called the referee's room at ANZ Stadium, Accor, Homebush, Olympic Park, Olympic Stadium, and said, "Hey, boys, we've had a couple of hip drops over here in the Shire. If you see one," are you saying that someone
they didn't have to even make a phone call, Cocksmith, because they're all sitting in the
same... tamper or texting?
No, they're all sitting in the same box at
Are you talking about the bunker?
Bunker. They're all sitting in the bunker. The bunker made the decision on both those hip drops in the first game.
Are you saying that somebody is tampering with the bunker?
Not tampering.
Who?
Not
Who would have thought?
Annesley put up a post-it note for the next referee and said, if there's any hip drops, because of the perception that we have to have in rugby league, you need to make sure that if there's a hip drop, it's a sin bin. That's how it works.
Somebody from the NRL has tampered with the adjudicating of games. Who would
allegedly?
Have thought that?
I'll say the word allegedly. It's crazy. So let's move on to the Raiders. You want to talk about them briefly because I don't. Well, we scored 12 points. You scored 12 points, and the Tigers scored 12 points. What was the worst performance of the three games? I guess is what I'm asking. Dragons smashed the Dolphins 38-12. Yeah. Broncos beat the Tigers 46-12, and the Panthers beat us 53-12.
I'm not even all that interested in the Dragons game, to be honest with you. The Dolphins were ordinary. Yeah. But
Tigers or Raiders, who was worse?
Tigers. Tigers can't win anything. Tigers couldn't win a chook raffle in an empty pub at the moment. Not anything. Couldn't win a veggie plate. Let's forget them for now because I think we need to in the next 6 weeks we need to do another full Tigers episode and forensically disassemble them because they're not going to win a game in the next 6 weeks.
Hey! They're going to smash the bye. They are.
No, even Tim, even Shifty Sheens isn't too keen. He doesn't know. We might win it. We might not. So anyway, listen. One thing I'll say about the Raiders game, I don't want to hang on it for too long because I don't mind the Raiders, unlike you who hate my Dragons. I just think the biggest problem I think that the Raiders did the whole competition a disservice by letting Penrith play themselves into a bit of form the other night. Penrith were a bit clunky at the start of this year, but they looked, especially after the first 20 minutes, they looked like their Penrith of old down in the nation's capital. I think, look, Penrith just got them on a night, mate. Raiders got them on a night. I can't really say too much. The Raiders were ordinary, very ordinary, but Penrith were just, it was going to happen sooner or later, that kind of night.
So, Penrith were Penrith. That's the thing that we hadn't seen this year, and they ripped us apart. Ricky in the presser, he said that he'd spoken to the players about what the problem was, but he wasn't going to tell the media. Fair enough. And then the media asked him, "Well, who are you bringing to your team? Are you making any changes?" "Oh, I don't have any players to pick." So, which is the truth? Which is the truth serum? There does he honestly think he's identified the problem, or has he got players he can change? Or
which winger is he going to drop? Got to drop someone after 53 points. Someone's got to go.
Well, to be honest,
who's it going to be?
3/4 of our back line could probably get dropped after that performance, and half of our forward pack. But let's see what Ricky does. I'm sure Jack was sitting there going, "I'm glad I'm not playing because that's going to bring my price down by another 100K." Playing in a game like that.
Hey, what about this one? Right?
Okay.
Jack Wighton. I'm just trying to figure out where he's going to go. Some people saying he's going to Parramatta. If he goes to Parramatta, he's not going to make any more than 600 grand because they've got Dylan Brown on 850. They've got Moses on 4 million. And who else did they sign just recently to a big dollar? They got Gutho on 900 apparently.
Yeah.
They can't afford Jack Wighton. They can't afford Jack Wighton. But what about this? I reckon I know a team that can afford Jack Wighton and still win a premiership for him. Penny Panthers.
Where are you playing?
I'm serious.
Where do you play him?
Centre. We play him centre.
Replace Crichton.
Yeah. You want to come to Penrith Panthers?
Move Tungo to the right.
Yeah, you want to come to Penrith Panthers and win a premiership? Here's 700 grand, mate. Come on over. Sign you for 3 years. We'll see if it's about the money or the premierships, if that happened. Yeah. Anyway, let's move off them. Anyone else you want to talk about? How many minutes we got left?
We've only got a couple.
Okay.
Storm beat South. I didn't see the game. I saw the recap.
Yeah, I did.
South may want to get their house in order because it was interesting to hear the coach basically tell Latrell, you got to stop floating through matches. That was an interesting comment. Melbourne, gutsy win. Well done.
Latrell has that in his game. We've spoken about this before.
Yep.
He can have a game like that where he's a little bit disengaged. I don't know if I'd call it disinterested, just a little disengaged, not maybe on the ball. We know what he's like when he's interested and when he's, sparked up to play. Probably the best player in the world. No one can stop him. We saw that when he came back from his hamstring.
Yeah, was he liked that interest which was there in that game to be happening a little bit earlier, as in like from the start. Roosters beat Eels 28-20, a couple of sin bins which were warranted. And the Eels, I'm not going to lie, they showed a bit defensively. This game could have been 40-6. It really could have been. I don't think you come out of this game if you're a Parramatta fan that disheartened.
Oh no, I think two of the Roosters' tries was while they had the two sin binnings. They should have had a player sent off. Simonson should have been sent for that. But anyway, be that as it may, Teddy, look, I think the tries that were scored and Teddy leaving kind of balances each other out. I think it was a fair result. A couple of pickups from that game though is that Jared Weir-Hargraves is probably the second or third best prop in the comp.
He's found his mojo again, hasn't he?
He is real good, and he's playing a little bit cleaner. He's not as violent and filthy as he used to be, or has been at times. By the way, terrific fella off the field. I think I've said that before. There's something about the Roosters this year, mate. I've had very much a hate relationship with the Roosters, and I don't mind them this year. I don't mind them. It's really strange. I don't know what it is. Anyway, doesn't matter. But yeah, look, the Parramatta have definitely improved in a couple of areas, and their scramble defence is definitely a lot better than it was last year. They've improved in that area for sure. But apparently they need a game breaker.
Apparently. The last game of the weekend was a points fest. Manly 32, Knights 32. It goes to Golden Point. They can't get a winner. I only saw the highlights clip of this. And Tommy, what a player! He's just in everything. And Newcastle find a little bit of something the last couple of weeks. They've picked up 3 points the last 2 weeks, mate. They've got 2 wins, 1 loss, and 2 draws. 2 losses and 1 draw. They're credit to Newcastle because you thought they were going to fall off the cliff without Ponga. Yeah,
without Ponga. Interesting, on the Matty John show last night, Lachlan Miller was on the show, and they were talking about the fullback position, and apparently he's had a gold-plated guarantee from AOB that he'll be playing fullback. He went there to play fullback, and he'll be playing fullback, but I suggest he might be playing fullback in the New South Wales Cup.
The old Dewey situation.
KP ain't coming back to play 6. I'm telling you right now.
Speaking of fullbacks, just
when
quickly,
KP comes back in the team,
Adam Dewey's positional efforts at fullback for the tie, you can't pick him at fullback again. Every time Reynolds or Walsh or anybody wanted to score a try, they just put a kick in behind the line against the Tigers the other night, and Dewey just wasn't in the same postcode. He doesn't have the legs for fullback. Timmy, I know you're trying to satisfy a highly paid player, but you can't play him at fullback. You just can't do it. He just can't play there.
No, he's got to play centre, mate. He's got to play centre. Look, a lot could be resolved with the Tigers. Quickly, just one area. Drop Luke Brooks, right? You got to cut and run on this, baby.
Who plays in the halves? $1 million. Who plays in the halves for him?
Anyone else? Anyone?
Appy to halfback?
I would rather see Appy at halfback, and I would rather see Dewey at 6, because at the moment Luke Brooks is not doing anything, mate. Right? He is doing nothing. He's offering nothing in attack. He's a good defender for his size, He's giving nothing, mate. They've got to cut and run. They're not going to, he's not going to be there next year. I will bet my left one that he will not be at the club next year.
Will Coach Pascoe be in charge? Running the warm-ups?
Don't know what he's up to. He falls into my dossier of an hour-long show that we're going to do in 6 weeks.
Quickly, we've got a minute left. The ladder is the Broncos. We really didn't talk about in this podcast, and they win the comp 5 wins and no losses. That's really good again.
That's good.
Warriors in second with the Roosters on 8 points. Manly on 7. Then you got the Panthers, Storm, Dolphins, and Bulldogs making up the top 8. Just outside the 8, but they've got 6 points each, is the Titans and the Dragons. Then the Knights on 5, Sharks, Rabbitohs, Cowboys on 4, Eels and Raiders on 2, who are both very thankful that the West Tigers are in the competition because they're on 0 and they're at 17th. That's the round 5 review on Not the Footy Show, episode 288. That's been Rob Cox. I've been Warrick Nicolson. You got a lot on teams that we didn't expect to talk about a lot of this year, which is the Bulldogs and Warriors. So be very thankful, Graham Annesley, because your blowout story got trumped by 2 pretty good games on Sunday night. Like it's out, Cocksmith.
Good games. Yeah. Mate, I will talk to you probably Thursday again. Is that right? We're going Thursday
Wednesday
night?
Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
Beautiful.
All right, mate. Talk to you then. Catch you later. Pepsi.
Not the Footy Show.
When I was in the car, you said to me, I read what you said, and I won't say anything. But, and then as you said, but I know that in the back of your mind you said he will kill me if I say something that gives anything.
Nah.
So, well done.
No, I just don't, mate. I remember once when I was a kid, I was at my mum's friend's place, and we used to call him Uncle and Auntie, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Uncle Chica, really legendary guy, still alive, still with us too.
Yeah,
just turned 85 or something. Anyway, he was one of these guys, mad Parramatta supporter. He's one of these dudes that would not go near a radio or a TV all day so that he could sit down at 6 p.m. and watch the 3 p.m. game.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was about 5 years old, and I knew the result, and Para had won, right? And when he got home, when you got home from the club or something, you'd been down the RSL or something like that. Yeah. And I said to him, I go, what about the Eels? Yeah. And his face, mate. It was like telling somebody they're about to have a surprise party, you know. Put my foot in it. I've been putting my foot in it for the next 45 years after that.
Yeah, yeah. So consistency.
I was tempted.
It's good.
I was tempted last night. I was tempted to start doing the kamate.
Not the Footy Show.
We are one different.
Yep. What do you got?
Canberra aren't making the finals this year.
Oh, stop it. I'm hanging up. I got to go, mate. The bars are calling me. The honky tonks are playing my tune. What are you talking about?
Not the Footy Show.
You been sleeping over there?
Pepsi.